Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina and this is Lifting Pins and Needles, a channel all about sewing. As you can see, if you've been following my sewing during the month of May, I have been sort of dedicated to jackets. I love sewing jackets. I think I would prefer to sew a jacket over any other piece just because of the challenge and the enjoyment of having something really nice to wear. And I know it's not always seasonally appropriate. I wish I lived in colder weather so I could make proper coats, you know, but I'll make the lightweight jackets for now and I'm really enjoying making them. So thank you so much for all your feedback on my Liliana blazer that I showed you on the last video, and thank you for going and checking out Claire's video as well. We did this project together and it was really fun. A few days ago I showed you my wearable muslin of my StyleArc Stacie jacket, and this one helped me see some little fitting adjustments I had to make. And now I can show you the good one, like the definite one, like the proper one, out of a really nice linen been carrying around for years. Very nice quality linen, nice, and I would say more of the heavyweight, very crinkly but beautiful, and it's a beautiful blue. So I'm not going to do a pattern review. If you need to know more about the Stacie Jean Jacket by StyleArc, you can go back and see this is the video where I showed you that, because that's where I gave like the overview of the pattern. So in this one we're going to hop into how I chose to construct this jacket. StyleArc doesn't have very detailed instructions. It's in one page in sort of like a list format, but actually the information on the pattern pieces is really helpful. So you're going to see really that it's not hard to construct at all. I did make some few changes to make the neckline, the collar, everything lay nice and like a nicer finish inside, and that's what you're going to see. So let's hop into up close and so personal.
Don't you think this is starting to wear?
These are all the pieces for both fronts. You can see that on each side there's 3 panels there and yokes on the top. You are only meant to cut 1 pair of these yokes, but the way I'm going to finish it, I cut 2. So there's another pair there and another strip of facing that will go on the front. I've slightly modified the construction, but I'll show you that later on. All these pieces have notch marks there. As you can see, I've marked with yellow chalk. So you don't really need instructions to put this together. If you just match the notches up, you can perfectly assemble this without reading the instructions. You can see that matches there, matches there, matches there. This is the center. You know, everything is perfect. So I'm just gonna put a pin there so it doesn't go anywhere, and I do that all the time when I'm sewing multi-paneled items because it just helps me go faster in the sewing part there. So I'm going to do that here and on the other side and get to sewing. Sew, serge, top stitch, and then add on the yokes on the top. Got my 2 fronts completed. Now the yoke there is interfaced just to make it more stable. I don't know if you can see my top stitching, but for this one I have actually top stitched in 2 parallel rows. One very narrow one with my edge foot and one 1/4 inch away with my 1/4 inch foot. So I'm always using special feet for top stitching. Now that I've finished the front, I can go and work on the back. The back is just 3 pieces, 1 center one and 2 lateral ones. They have double notches there with chalk that you match up. Very easy to put together, and there is the yoke for the back that I have also interfaced. So that, serge it, top stitch it, all that together, and then attach on that yoke. Sew it, serge it and top stitch it. That's the way that I do it. My back is all done. I've attached everything. It's all been top stitched, and now I'm just going to take my front pieces and throw them on top, right sides together, match the shoulder seams and sew those shoulder seams on the top. I also have these extra yoke pieces that I've cut out, just doubled the pieces, 2 fronts and an extra back, and these are going to be like facing pieces now. This is just going to make putting in that collar super easy. So I'm going to assemble this as well, the same as the jacket. Just put the right sides together there and sew the shoulder seams the same. This is my collar. I've got 2 pieces. I've sewn them together, right sides together there inside, and one of them I applied interfacing on. That's the black side that you're seeing there. And now look at this pattern piece. When you see these pattern pieces, you have notch marks there, and then you have the stitching line. Every single pattern piece has that. So it clearly tells you what seam allowance you need to use for each, area of the project. And StyleArc for collars and necklines and arm size and things like that, they always use 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I love that. I absolutely love it because it makes sewing this area so much more accurate. You can see my blue stitching line there. Always sewing a collar for me with 1/4 inch seam allowance is so much easier than with, like 3/8 or 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch. Now, if you can see how I sew the tip there, I sew there all the way over there, and then I start again down, so there's like an intersection of my stitching. I think that helps me turn the corners better, and I'm not going to clip or cut or anything. I've got my collar turned, right side out. I have a pin there to mark the middle. That's the shiny little bit you see right here. Okay, so I have the main body of the jacket there. The shoulder seams have been attached. I don't care about the side seams for now. I leave that for last. And I've created a similar piece that's going to be the facing of all this. So these are my facings. So this is why I cut 2 extra yokes. 2 front yokes and extra back yoke. I interfaced this one because there are going to be buttonholes and buttons on this area. I didn't bother to interface the back. You don't really need to. Now the pattern had you cut a long strip of a facing there, and that was appropriate if you're not going to do this finishing that I'm going to do. I think this is going to look so much nicer. So what I've done to the bottom of the yoke there is just attach the facing there. Now I might have extra length, I don't really care. If you see there, I sewed it on together with a 3/8 seam allowance, pressed it open, and from the other side it looks really clean. So on this front facing / yoke, I folded up 3/8 of a seam allowance, and that is how it's going to be neatly finished inside, and then that is how it looks on this side. But maybe this is not making sense right now. It will make sense in a few seconds. What I'm going to do next is sandwich my collar piece in between the main body of the jacket and all my little facing pieces. So I want the interfaced part of my collar, because I have one that's interfaced, the other one isn't. I want this one to be on the outside, the visible area, because I find it's more smooth. So this is why we have this one on the top and the non-interfaced one on the bottom there. So when this is sewn in, that's how it's going to look right there, So I have the body of the jacket right sides up, the collar sandwiched in between. I have my pin marking the middle that I'm going to match with the center back notch right there. And then I'm going to throw my facing pieces on top there. So my facing pieces are right sides together with the jacket, with the collar piece sandwiched in between there. You can see I've got a chalk mark that matches my center back there that I'm going to match to the pin. Do the same with the back. So I've got to get my collar, pin it, pin to take that shape down there, and it's going to reach about 3 centimeters away from the edge over here where that is going to be. So I'm going to sit down, pin this, fast forward it for you. I know this looks absolutely crazy, but here you have the jacket, here is the facing, and there is the collar sandwiched in there. Now I have pinned everything from the front center there up to where this matches the yoke there. You can see that seam matches exactly there. See? And then to that little corner, there is the little notch where my collar has to reach from the inside when it's sandwiched in there. So this notch has to be the same as the other side. You can see I've marked it with chalk. That is exactly where my collar reaches, so that the distance here, there is exactly the same as there, and you don't get a wonky collar. Also, my facing shoulder seams match my body ones down there. They have to match right there and right there. And I have pinned everything. Now it's so much easier to do this and sew with that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this is not where I'm going to stop. I'm going to take the extra time, go the extra mile, and hand baste this just do a basting stitch by hand, get rid of the pins, and then go to the sewing machine and use my 1/4 inch foot to sew everything. It'll be really precise, and then when you flip everything, your collar is going to be perfectly neat. So when I was basting, I tried to baste within that 1/4 inch seam allowance, so quite near the edge, as you can see there, so that my stitching line actually doesn't catch it. That means when I want to remove my basting stitch, I can just pull it through and it's not going to be caught in the stitching, which is really annoying. I have all this curve here around the neckline that I want to snip before I try to turn this around. So I'm just going to make lots of little snips here so this can turn the curve really well. Here's my facing. I'm going to take this and fold it on that stitching line there. Fold it again, so it's like a little square right there. Hold that really firm and put my finger in here and just flip it around, and I have a perfect little corner right there without clipping or doing anything. So I'm doing the same with the other side. I'm confirming now that my collars are even. If I put them there together, and here you can see they are exactly the same size, so there's no like a longer one or a shorter one that's going to make it look wonky. They are pretty even, so that's what I wanted to achieve, and it's all good. See how pointy these are? So what I'm going to do next is here, do understitching. So this is my facing, you can see there. So I'm going to bring the seam allowance this way and sew that on there on the edge, all the way down to the bottom, and that's going to keep my facing tucked in there without it coming out. So I'm reaching the end here, you can see the tip here. I'm going to understitch as much as I can. I can't really get to the tip. So I probably got up to an inch before the point there. That's as much as I could sew. I forgot to do the top stitching on the collar before putting it in there, but I can still do it. I'm gonna top stitch right from, I'm actually gonna do a continuous stitch. I'm gonna catch all these at a 1/4 inch there, go up, pivot there, and then keep going up, around. So I'm actually going to do that as one of the last steps. I'm not going to worry about that for now. Now inside you can see that I have my facing / yoke there on the front and the back, and that's just loose there. So I've pressed it up with the 3/8 seam allowance, the same that the yokes have. Right there, I've pressed it, and then I'm going to match that to the seam. And towards the end, I'm actually going to hand sew that, slip stitch that on by hand. It'll be invisible. And that's it with that. Do that front and back. Now I have dangling side seams. I'm going to sort out, sew those, and I have already done the seam on my sleeves there. I've serged the ends. I'm actually going to hem the sleeve before I set it in. But I mean, once I'm up to this stage, it's pretty much done in my books. Side seams, set on the sleeve, sort out the hem. I'm still thinking about the hem. And then on this side, I have to do the buttonholes, attach the buttons, and then I'm done. Okay, so here is my gorgeous blue jacket. I'm so happy with it. Can see the texture up close of this linen. It is beautiful. Very nice to work with, beautiful to sew. The only fit adjustment was here. about 3 inches under the arm side there, I let out the seam allowance. I actually didn't let it out because the seam allowance is very small. It's only 3/8 of an inch. So when I cut the pattern pieces for these 2 laterals, I just sort of curved it out a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch out. I basically have 2 more centimeters around the bust, and that's all I needed. And actually, the other one was smaller because the fabric is thicker, and I interfaced it, which made it even thicker. And when you make garments out of thicker fabric, they just become smaller. I don't know if that does make sense, but it's the way it goes. This one is not lined, so actually it's quite a nice fit with the size 14. You basically saw how I made that. I said that this was going to be hand sewn, and it has been pretty invisible. So that's nice and secure there, those internal yoke slash facings I made. Now the sleeves on the jacket originally are full length. They did have a deep hem that you can fold up and look really nice. I replicated the same thing, only shorter. I didn't want the full length sleeves. I think full length sleeves are not very appropriate here. I could get much more wear out of 3/4 length sleeves. I did machine hem this one because linen actually takes top stitching really well. I did double row top stitching everywhere, super fun to do. And actually, if you're just using the same thread as your main fabric, it doesn't take any time at all because you don't have to be like switching threads or switching machines. So very fun. Okay, here you can see my jacket. It's really nice, the length. As you know, I omit the bands here. If you don't know why, you can go and watch the other video where I showed you the black one and why I omitted them. I actually prefer it just to end like that without the band at the bottom. This is the length of the sleeve I chose to do. I have it folded up. If I want to, I can like not fold them up, and then they're a little bit longer. So I really like having that option. And this length is always much more wearable for me. I can actually button this up nice, comfortably. The other one I really couldn't. So a little tiny adjustment there was just enough, I actually never wear jackets buttoned up anyway, but I can this time. The shape at the back is really lovely. It's just a really nice jacket, and I love the way it fits. You can see up close here how it finishes this collar inside there, the little yoke with that extra facing I put there. So the modification I did, the original jacket had the facing just go up to there. I think this is much nicer. You can see the fit on the sleeve, and the shoulder is gorgeous. Shoulders are just right for me. Yes, I am extremely happy with this. I've been waiting up for a long time to have a blue jacket like this because it will go with so many of my clothes. So I'm very excited to have it. I hope you give this pattern a go if you have the chance to get it. It's a really nice pattern. The fit is amazing. The style is amazing. Everything. I just love everything about it. And if you saw all the things that I did to make it, you're going to see it's not really that hard to construct at all. It came together really quickly. So I'm extremely happy with this pattern. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you very soon. Bye.
It's a shame to watch us fade.